What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of We Burn Blue, Summer Edition. And World Cup's done. Sharan, how did you enjoy this World Cup?
I'm still enjoying it. Um, my service provider is allowing me until the 31st of July to watch the replays of the games. So, as the footballing nerd that I am, I've decided to try and watch every game. I mean, you'll be proud of me or like slightly disgusted. I've actually finished the group stage, which is that's a lot of games. So yeah, I my wife was telling me the other day that like I'm full of football, but I also have nothing else to do with that information. So that's when I messaged you. I was like, bro, let's get on a pod.
So watching all the World Cup games has got you some in-depth tactical analysis for us, or it's just for fun?
I mean, it can be both, right? I know you don't think that the tactics are fun, but I mean, they're fun for me, you know? They're fun for some of us. I will say though, after a while, all the games start to blur together. So, on the tactical point, since you bring it up, I'll briefly say I was surprised that there are still other ways to play football aside from attacking in a 3-5-2 and defending in a 4-4-2 or like a 4-3-3, whatever it is, 4-2-3-1. I think that's the great thing about the World Cup, right? Is all of the league games we've been watching and like the Champions League games we've been watching, it all gets thrown out of the window because there's just so many different combinations of players coming to play with their nations, right? And the managers kind of just have to find what fits, what works best for the team. So, yeah, and we did see a lot of low blocks, which is not that surprising, right? But yeah, it's a double-edged sword, which I'm sure those of you who have watched the England game will know. Because it did work. It created a lot of counterattacking opportunities for teams that were set up intentionally that way. But teams who invited top quality teams onto them, um, those quality teams find a way to score and break the low block, and then the game plan goes out the window, right? So I mean, the way I look at it is the last eight in the tournament, they I think those are the best teams at breaking down low blocks. I'm not sure if you agree, and how much of the tournament did you catch?
Yeah, I don't have a comment because I barely watched it. I mean, I think the one match I watched end to end was the final because we had some friends over. I didn't. The third place match also. I mean, the England France. I did want to watch that. I don't. Yeah, I didn't end up watching that either. I did watch a bit of the semi final, the England Argentina one. I think I watched the end of that. So yeah, all in all, I didn't really do much this World Cup, and I don't share the same enthusiasm you do. I did track how the Chelsea players did, and I think that was the only point of interest to just see how we got on. And
And there wasn't too much to track anyway, right?
right, that's also true. I mean, most of them got out, in the early rounds. It was basically down to the final, like the last four, where we had representation in 3 out of 4 games. And I count Cucurella there because FIFA did as well. Because his transfer happened during the World Cup, he was still registered as a Chelsea player through the end of the World Cup. So the bonus that the clubs receive for any, medals and stuff that the players win, Chelsea gets that. It's a cool 20 million or something. So we benefit from that, even though he moved to Madrid during the windows. I mean,
I
during the
I
World Cup.
did
So
I did want to bring up Cucurella at some
yeah,
point, and
yeah,
his valuation pre and post World Cup.
yeah.
But let's stay on the World Cup for a bit because I did enjoy it. And you're saying you didn't watch it, but how about your predictions? Did you do any predictions for this?
No, I didn't. I didn't really do too many predictions. I saw early on that Netherlands were favorites, and I was quite surprised that they got out as early as they did. There's always a soft spot for England just because I think I watched that league the most. That there's quality there, and I think they were just Tuchel got the setup all wrong, in my opinion, in the semifinal. And I don't know, like you said, you've watched the group stages. I don't know if you've seen any of the knockout matches yet, or if you tracked any of them like closely. But I think Tuchel really, it was more of a disaster class than a master class, which is what you would have expected from him in knockout football. But I think, yeah, he got that one wrong. And when it came to Spain, Argentina in the final, it was an easy, like, Spain were the favorites. I think everybody, like, everyone I knew was like, except if you were like an Argentina fan, like historically, or you were like a big Messi fan, everybody was behind Spain just because
Spain.
Argentina, man, it was like the decisions that happened. And I mean, there's a lot of other stuff around the World Cup. Like, did you see the Balogun red card decision and all of that stuff that happened? It's unnecessary drama, in my opinion.
I mean, we don't touch on that because it's like then where does it stop, right? But what I like is that you're Chelsea through and through. World Cup comes around and you're like, no, I just want more Chelsea. So
Yeah, I mean, this one was really underwhelming. I think I said that on the last one when we said we're gonna, take a break. World Cup's coming up. I said I'm not really planning to watch it, and I really didn't. In fact, I thought I wouldn't watch. I mean, I knew I wasn't gonna watch much, but I actually thought I would watch more than I did. In the end, I
yeah.
didn't really. It was just too much else
But
happening, to.
speaking of Chelsea through and through, right? I found it very difficult to detach from England again
Mm,
because Tuchel's the manager. And okay, not to mention he's called up Reece James, which is a
yeah.
pretty big deal, right? But I don't know. Did you have the same feeling that when people talked about England, you would kind of I would defend Tuchel, but try not to defend England? It's a very weird line not to cross. What
Nah,
did you make of Trev being called up? By the way,
I mean, I think Tuchel obviously likes him. I think that it was who ended up getting injured for Trev to be called up. I
I think
forget,
it
but
was another ex Chelsea. It was Tino Livramento.
right, yeah. I think I mean, it was I think it was expected. I mean, that's the thing about Trev, right? Like, he is one of the most hated Chelsea players, but he's reliable, right? In terms of he'll show up. Whether he'll show up and do a good job or a bad job is down to the day. There's always those
Come on. Okay,
50-50.
let's not discredit Trev that much
No, I
because
mean, what I
the
mean,
guy's played in Champions League final, right?
yes,
Like as in
correct.
in a World Cup, I would say he's a pretty strong addition. I just found it interesting that they didn't have another right back proper to add, you know? But
Mm,
aside from that,
mm,
I was like, look, he's used to being a squad player and like you say, he's consistent.
mm,
And I think he can show up in big games. He has like that way to handle pressure.
mm. No, I mean, he does have all of that, but I think it wasn't really a tough decision. I was surprised though that he did leave out, like, if you needed a right back, and there was a point, like, in that game versus Argentina, uh, he could have used another right back. I mean, he had Konsa, and he didn't have Trent, right? So that could have been something that might have helped. But
I mean, I
again,
think
like,
Trent probably was a shoe-in when Livramento got injured. I think that was the original thinking by most people, right?
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, look, we're happy Trev gets the call up. I think he played a few minutes in one of the games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure,
He
but
did.
it's
He did.
always nice to see an additional Chelsea player represent.
Mm,
Since you really didn't watch much, I'll just go through, like, briefly what I thought was really cool to see. Firstly,
yeah.
I didn't expect this to happen, but the stadiums were actually all sold out. I mean, I only saw maybe one or two games in the group stages, which were empty or slightly empty. And I was like, okay, initially I was quite skeptical because FIFA just held their prices. So I'm not sure what happened last minute, whether people got tickets on the cheap or whatever, but I thought that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed watching Switzerland. And when the Xhaka news came out, I was very, very excited. What were your thoughts at the time, I guess, on Xhaka, and I guess those have been put to bed for now, those links.
I mean, I think I've rated Xhaka as a player going back to even for Arsenal. I think he did a good job. I think they made a mistake letting him go when they did to Bayer. And obviously, the link with Alonso was there. And when we were linked with him, I was like, okay, this is a sensible signing. It's a player who the manager knows really well. He is very experienced. I mean, he went to Sunderland and he ended up captaining them. That's exactly the kind of player he is. He's a leader on the pitch. It's the kind of player we said we need, right? The personality more than just the player. And I was really happy that was happening. And when I guess it's done for now because not only did Sunderland hold fast on their valuation, he's also now committed to sticking with them. So yeah, I mean, but that would have been a quality addition in my opinion. And I mean, yeah, we'll get to the transfers, but bro, it's crazy, 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 crazy.
So aside from Switzerland, I also really enjoyed watching a lot of the African teams, and also pleasantly surprised by Curacao, like tiny nation, but they actually have a team, all athletes who can also ball as well. In terms of like, I don't want to say hidden gems, but hidden for me, okay, considering I literally only watched Chelsea. I'd never heard of Yan Diomande, but that guy is electric. Like, he's a left winger we need. Obviously, he's going to PSG, so that's done. And then there was this 6/8. I mean, he could probably play all three roles because he was definitely box crashing for Senegal. His name's Pape Gueye, Senegal number 26. This guy is like a proper, like he reminds me of Mikel, but with more of a passing range. Because he's probably, his stature is probably slightly bigger than Mikel as well. I obviously he's 20, well, he's mid-20s or something like that. He probably has a few more years before he hits his peak. But he was another one where I was like, look, we're looking for a 6. Why not like pick up a guy like him? He probably wouldn't cost too much. I think he's playing at Villarreal right now. He was tremendous for Senegal. Absolutely watched him. I loved watching him play. But yeah, like you said, you kept track of some of the CFC players. So what were your takes?
I mean, I think highlights for me were, Caicedo getting to captain his nation, becoming the official captain during the course of the World Cup. And that's showing his growth, I think. And I think in event of Enzo leaving, which we're coming to, we'll probably need another, person who has that leadership capability. So it's an indication he could step up there. Obviously, Reece and Chalobah, the guys who got to the last rounds, Reece, Chalobah getting a 3rd place, Enzo 2nd place. I'm sure you didn't watch it, but you've seen already he got sent off. Basically, I think the most disliked player at the World Cup for his just usual shithousery. And in that he did get a good goal. Versus what was it? I think it was versus England. I guess he got a couple of good goals, and then he obviously had the sending off, which was really, really stupid in my opinion. And then we have the rest of the performers. Malo Gusto, made it till the 3rd place, 4th place finish with France. Pedro Neto was consistently featuring for Portugal. Nicholas Jackson and Mamadou Sarr got knocked out at the round of 32. And then, you had Hatu as well with Netherlands. So very small, showing compared to what we're used to usually. Benders was also in there in Belgium. He got some, work with Courtois, learning during the World Cup. But overall, I mean, I think for me, just generally underwhelming. And I'm kind of like, okay, it's done now. And we're already at that stage where preseason's happening and we're getting ready for that. And the transfer business is in full swing. So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to and discuss from that perspective.
Yeah, I can tell that you really want to move on from the World Cup, but
No,
I'm
but I
not
mean,
done
if
yet.
you,
So,
yeah, I was going to say, please go on.
you know, I think you're right though. I mean, earlier on when I was joking with you when I said like there wasn't much to keep track of, what I meant was this is probably the fewest number of call-ups we've had in like a decade plus, at least. I mean, actually, if we're talking decade plus, the decade previously was better than what we're experiencing right now. So yeah, in at least 2 decades. Um, so yeah, I mean, firstly, straight off the bat, not much to keep track of. Um, I think Brazil really, really missed Andre Santos and João Pedro. João Pedro is the obvious one, but it's obvious for a reason. Like they needed him. Igor Thiago plays one game against Morocco and then he's disappeared for the next 2 games. And I mean, Cunha came in and did a good job, but he was asked to drop off the front line and basically be like a false 9, false 10, whatever you want to call them. And I think João Pedro, that's basically João Pedro. Like he could do that at a much higher level. Touchwood, he applies that next season. But Santos, for me, I think we are to blame, at least partially to blame for him not going to the World Cup just because of how little he played last season. And honestly, for no reason that I can think of, because I think he's quality enough to have played way more than he did. And Brazil definitely missed. They had a very leggy Casemiro. I still rate Casemiro, right? But I think he needed a partner in midfield like a Santos who can clean up whenever he needs to and allows Casemiro to go forward, because actually Casemiro is also effective in the opponent's box as well. So I just wanted to point that out, that I think those two guys are hard done by. And I think Ancelotti, I know he doesn't regret. He looks like a guy who doesn't regret at all. But there'll be a part of him that's like, oh, maybe I should have.
You won't admit it. You won't admit it.
Yeah, he'll never admit it because he's too cool. And why should he, man? The guy's a baller. So I think for Trev, we already mentioned. Gusto, I think he barely played, or at least where I am at in the tournament, right? He's just getting like courtesy minutes. Koundé is a very, very good all-round right back, and I'm just hoping Gusto picks up something from him. Reece James for me was a concern because after Croatia, he went back to like the usual Reece James we see where he's managing himself. Against Croatia, I think he was amazing, like rock solid. But yeah, probably have to keep an eye on his fitness at the start of the season. I did want to ask you what your thoughts are on Enzo, because the whole Javier Pastore stuff and the sale of Andre Santos have all happened during this tournament. So do you think he actually wants to be at Chelsea? I mean, I would take a guess and say no. And would you keep him?
Man, I think I haven't changed my stance from the midfield part in all our discussions when we were finally revealing the whole squads we had. I would keep him, conditioned on him wanting to stay. Now, whether he wants to stay is what seems to be up for debate. Now, it seems to me that as we're recording this on Thursday, that Madrid are not pursuing him further and they're going for Rodri instead. Okay? Which means that unless City decide to say, okay, we need to replace Rodri and Enzo Maresca wants Enzo Fernandez, or Atleti, who have been rumored to be interested in Enzo, formalize and make something, there's no other, clubs that seem to be linked or have any vested interest in bringing in Enzo Fernandez, right? At the valuation we want. And given his World Cup outing, right? The fact that he showed that he's a big game player. He played a couple of games from a deep lying position where he was stringing together play really well. He got a couple of clutch goals. And of course, he had the red card in there, which is just part of his sort of persona. One very silly yellow and then, another stupid challenge to make when you're on a yellow. I think that valuation wise, there's no reason Chelsea shouldn't be holding out for the valuation that they want, which is about 120 million odd pounds, because that's the current market. You have a Wharton, a Wharton's going for about 100 million if reports are to be believed. Elliot Anderson was done at 116. We obviously pulled the fucking rabbit out of the hat with Morgan Rogers at 117 million.
They pulled
We'll
the
discuss
Rogers
that.
out of the hat.
Yeah, but like, if that's the sort of business happening, then there's no reason we shouldn't hold out for 120 for Enzo. And yeah, there's only a couple of clubs who might be able to pull that off. Do I want him to stay? Yes, if he wants to, but by all accounts, I mean, there was the whole shenanigans where apparently he changed his agent and everything, but I don't know. I think it's still Javier Pastore. He was chatting a lot about Madrid. Madrid came out saying we respect the player, but we're not actively doing anything about it. And I think that basically weakened his position quite a lot. And yeah, I mean, if like right now with the squad as it is, there is a space for an Enzo, especially because the Santos went. And yeah, I mean, coming Santos is another discussion, but for me, I would keep Enzo Fernandez. If we could if we could work things out, and I think Alonso also said that in his first presser. He's like, I want to keep the player. I've had conversations with him. What I've spoken to him is obviously between us, but yeah, I would want to keep him. So I think there's no denying that Enzo has been great for us. I mean, you're looking at 15 to 20 goal contributions a season. That's not going to be easy to replace as well.
I tell you what, though, right, from what I've seen, Enzo looks like incredible for Argentina. I haven't reached the stage of the tournament you're talking about, so thanks for the spoilers. But basically, when I've seen him play for Argentina, he's doing everything no muss, no fuss, hassling, harrying on the defensive side, box crashing, but also dictating. He's doing it all at a much higher level. And like, it's hard for him to look so much better than how he was for us. Because again, like you're saying, he was one of our best players last season, in the top two, right? But he actually like has given 110% to Argentina. So yes, if Alonso can extract that from him, great. But actually, as the tournament's gone on, I think I would much rather have kept Cucurella, because the way this is all panned out for me suggests that Enzo really just doesn't want to be here, but it's all being handled in a very underhanded way. So that's why I asked you, right? If you think, no, he doesn't want to be here, then according to the midfield pod we did, your answer would be like, well, then no, we don't keep him. But then what valuation do you set and sell him at? Because no one's going to, I don't think that there's anybody in the market who will pay that. But anyway, that maybe that's enough time spent on Enzo because it's all up in the air. His partner, Caicedo, I did want to point out, like you said, captained Ecuador, but I think he was asked to do way too much for Ecuador. He looked like he was all over the place. And I think it's an issue with people seeing Caicedo's capabilities and then saying, you know what, just do everything. They rely on him to do defensive coverage. They rely on him to make incisive passes. And it reminds me a little bit of him at Chelsea, and certain other players are not performing and he has to take it on himself to do all the work. He comes off looking worse. Another player I wanted to ask you about was Barco, because I don't even know if that transfer to us has actually happened, but also considering the beef that went down with him and the England team or Bellingham after the Argentina game, how do you think that looks, in the grand scheme of things, or at least to Chelsea fans?
I think it's a non-starter. Like it's a non-issue. I really don't think there's anything in it. I think Barco. What I've read is, yeah, he's definitely coming to Chelsea. In fact, I think we'll expect his signing. We got the here we go from Fabrizio like in the last 24 hours. So we should be seeing it wrapped up soon for about 40 million. And I
40
really
million.
think, yeah, 40 million. That's the valuation, I believe. The transfers have been crazy. I mean, if you're ready to jump into it, I have a lot of like, I think I shared.
I've been subtly taking us in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Because okay, you're saying Barco's gonna happen. And Rogers has happened. I mean, the size of the squad is gonna come into question straight away. But okay, if we put a pin in that for now, you're
yeah,
telling me Barco's looking at 40,
yeah,
Rogers was 117,
yeah,
and Palestra was another 50 plus, right?
yeah. 57.
What's going on, man?
Quenda was 50 as well when we agreed it with Sporting.
But did they
He's
not
also
book it
come
in
in.
last year's financial? Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah, that's probably yeah. Even I think Barco would have been booked in at last time if I'm not wrong. I actually don't know. The Barco deal's a little one is one that's a little bit like dodgy. It was like almost like agreed, but we hadn't announced it. But it was like the biggest like open secret out there. But yeah, I mean, look, okay, business out. We've got Cucurella going at 55, Santos at 56, and these are all euros, mind you. So that makes Rogers 137 million euros instead of 117 million pounds. George went to Everton. Tyreek George went to Everton for 21. So that's about 130 million that we've raked in as well already. But yeah, dude, the
And
squad
we
is
spent
big.
it all on one player.
Yes, but the squad is big and we're expecting a lot of movement. I think this was something we had said we had about just from our hypothetical planning. I remember I had 11 players out. So it's looking like hypothetical is becoming a reality. And there's a lot of movement and there's a lot of like financial trickery at play, right? When you talk about like the potential move of Garnacho on a loan with a conditional obligation to buy. You do get Jackson may also follow Garnacho to Villa. So effectively, if Villa is paying us, well, the way the deal is apparently structured for Garnacho, it's the total valuation would be about 42.7 million pounds if we're reports to be believed, and we're getting 8 million in a loan fee. And then if the obligation is met, it's supposedly an easily achievable obligation, something like 10 appearances or something. But then Villa had the same agreement with Liverpool over Harvey Elliott. And when he wasn't doing well, they just stopped playing him. So there is that chance of that happening. But um, yeah, if that goes through, then we get another 34 odd million for Garnacho, taking it to 40 something million. And then apparently we're
Yeah,
valuing
but this is my issue. You
Jackson.
can't take it until it's with you in your pocket. Like you
Yeah,
can't
of
bank
course.
on that money coming in.
No, but the way they're doing it is so this is where I was telling you about this, right? The UEFA FFP regulations, right? So Chelsea have bought Morgan Rogers from Villa for 117 million pounds. If Villa sign any players from Chelsea, then effectively their profit on Rogers, which at this stage is about 100 odd million, because if I'm not wrong, they signed him for about 13 or 14 million. Okay, if I remember correctly. So effectively, they're looking at 100 million in profits. But if they buy Garnacho for 45 million, say, then instead of recording 100 and something million as profit, they can only record the difference of Garnacho's and Rogers' fees. If this the simultaneous transfers between both clubs are done within a 45-day window. So to avoid Villa having to reduce their reported profits, and for us also not being able to book anything in event of Garnacho actually being sold for greater than his buying price, they've structured the deal in a way where we get a loan with an obligation and we fulfill the obligation, and then he goes to Villa eventually. And apparently Emery has tracked Garnacho previously, wanted him before he came to Chelsea as well. So it's a win-win that way.
This is all sounding too
This is
convenient, including the
it
part
is
where he's been
100%.
tracking Garnacho
It
since
is
he was born.
100.
Okay,
It is
it's crazy.
100% convenient. I'm
Yeah,
completely with you. I'm just don't shoot the messenger is all I'm gonna say, right? This is everything
yeah,
I've
but
read, my understanding of it.
why can't it just be that they really just want to see how bad Garnacho is before they spend the money?
I mean,
That's the more simple explanation.
they could,
And
but
frankly speaking, I think it's hard for a Chelsea fan like me to believe that somebody would spend 45 million pounds with an 8 million pound loan fee on top of that
no, not
on
on top of that.
Garnacho.
Not on top of that. The
Is
the 8
included.
million, it comes out. So 8 million now and
I
30
don't
something million.
remove 8 million, remove 15 million from 45. I still don't think he's worth 30 million pounds.
We paid 45 million for him.
But that doesn't matter. His valuation today is what I'm talking about, right?
No, I know,
He's not
fair,
he's
fair.
not worth that much. There's no way. So where are all these numbers coming out from? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I
Anyway,
mean,
look, okay. Aside from, because the finances is something we want to touch on at a later date, how they're managing all of this. I think the way I was raised in my background, it makes it very difficult for me to look at these numbers and look at the way they're doing the finances and not get heart palpitations. But we have to remember that it's not our money. But like, as a concerned fan, I don't want these hooligans or these clowns running this club into administration because they don't know how to manage money. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I get you, but at the same time, right, there's valuations they have on players, and I think I shared this with you today. I think you refused to open it, but there's this hypothetical scenario in which Chelsea earns upwards of 600 million in outgoings and spends upwards of 400 million and still lands a 150, 18, like 120, 150 million in profits.
Can I ask you though? No one wants to buy Badia Shield, Anselmino, Disasi, or any of
No,
these
so some
guys.
of these guys, there is some movement around some of these guys. That's the interesting bit. There we have a month and a half or so to go, a month and a few days, give or take, and there is some movement, right? So Jackson to Villa is actually gathering steam, right? I mean, I guess let's just go into it, right? What are the potential outgoings that we're looking
Well,
at,
actually,
right?
hold on. If you want to go into it, I say no, because I'm not done
Okay,
yet.
as
Okay.
always,
So,
let's go with
yeah,
it.
I've got more things to say. All right. So we're done with Barco and this
Yeah,
whole thing of, so I had one more question on him. He's coming in regardless of whether Enzo leaves, right?
yeah, correct. He's coming in regardless of what happens to Enzo. We are being linked to another person, this Pep Chavaria, who can apparently play left. He's
Left
a left
back, left
back.
wing back.
Yeah, yeah. But Barco can also play left back and midfield. He's one of those players. So if Enzo does stay and Barco is there, there's a chance we say Barco deployed at the left back if Chavaria doesn't go through, because apparently they're holding out for double the valuation that we originally were told. So yeah,
I just thought they were shipping out one bratty Argentinian and replacing him with another. But anyway, um, some just a couple more questions from the World Cup aspect. But we have Enciso. I say we, Strasbourg have Enciso on the books, but we spent 117 million on Rogers. And when I watched Paraguay at the World Cup, Enciso is like the huge saving grace of watching Paraguay. They're a terrible team to watch, I think, except for Enciso, who, when he gets that ball in their low block and is countering, it's like, wow, man. He doesn't look like it, but he's got tremendous running power and he can carry the ball. And that's what I associate with Rogers. I know he's a pretty smart mover off the ball as well. And again, I think we have a guy called we have Gela Due, right, at Strasbourg as well, who's Desire Doue's brother, older brother, and he's a right back. But we've gone and splashed the cash on Palestra, again, a slightly more unknown quantity. I think we can all say, compared to Doué, who is at Strasbourg. So I'm just here thinking, well, you spent 117 million on Rogers, even though you have Enciso at Strasbourg. You spent 57 million or whatever it was in pounds on Palestra when you have Doué at Strasbourg. And then you're planning to bring Barco in, but there's been no movement on our front on selling. Well, we've sold Santos, right? But I would argue that bringing in Barco that's not really a replacement. If anything, that just puts you deeper into the hole you have in your midfield. So, like, is the faith in, you know, the feeder system that these players come from Strasbourg go to Chelsea, right? Is that pipeline kind of shutting down? Is the faith in that system shutting down? Or do you see them using players like Enciso and Doué as potential like make weights to burgeon the finances at Strasbourg and improve the position there so that they can do more trading with Chelsea as and when they need it?
Yeah, in my view, I think it's the latter. I don't think that every player that signs for Strasbourg has a direct pipeline to Chelsea. I think that's probably a misconception, and it seems to be proven more and more like with this window. I also think that this is the window where they're backing the manager more. So Palestra may have been an unknown quantity before this last season went, but he was Serie A defender of the season, right? Um, Alonso's obviously seen something in him that he wants because this seems to be driven by Alonso. It's the same thing with Chavaria. Um, when it comes to Enciso versus Rogers, I mean, I think you just have to then decide how much of the hype around Rogers you believe. He's one of those that exceptional player. I personally think he's slightly overrated. I think I called this when the transfer went through. I think 117 is a high valuation. Arsenal apparently valued him closer to 80 to 90, which seems like maybe was more in line with valuations, but also when you look at the bloated market, right? You can't blame Villa for saying we want more than, you know, City have paid for Elliot Anderson, right? Because if you look at the impact the player has, right? But where I think the Rogers and Ciso comparison sort of ends is because I think they're doing different things and they're also physically different. One of the things we talked about needing is physicality, strength to do stuff off the ball, to hold the ball, to carry it forward. And Rogers seems to have that, right? He's a big guy. He's more physical. We've seen that with him at Villa, and that's one of his qualities that people are rating him for. So comparing that to Enciso, who in my memory is a smaller guy, nimble, quick, but not as physical. Um, it may be to our benefit that we've gone one over the other, and I don't think that we can look at every good talent that Strasbourg have and say, oh, why aren't we bringing from Strasbourg to Chelsea? Because that's one of the issues of Strasbourg. The entire Strasbourg ecosystem, the fans and all said, we don't want to be your feeder club, right? And if you look at the way the the models are sort of implemented across City's football group and even the Red Bull group, it's not always that, it's a direct feeder. Like you go into the lower club, you work your way up. It also, the Strasbourg entity has to exist on its own,
But
right?
the issue I take with what you're saying, it is that it's not that Rodgers is a 28-year-old proven number 10 or left winger in the Premier League. He may have spent more time in the Premier League than Enciso, but Enciso has also played in the Premier League. Let's not forget, and he played at a decent level at Brighton. So it's I'm not saying every player. I'm picking out
Mhm.
Strasbourg's top players. Like Doué has had a very, very good season at Strasbourg, like at right back. Right. For me, the finances do matter to a degree as well, and I don't think there's that much of a quality difference now. And who knows where it's going to go in the future? Enciso could turn out to be one of the best tens that ever played, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying Rogers won't turn out like that either. I'm just saying who are we to judge? I'm just saying, okay, you have a certain you have a certain few issues you need to address in the squad. Blowing 117 million pounds on Rogers, who's a left 10, I'm not sure whether that was a super key area to address straight away. and you already have a potential player in the pipeline in Enciso. I'm just drawing out the fact that that isn't necessarily the most prudent way to
Mm.
do things.
No, I mean, you do have a point there, but I think it just came down to a market opportunity that they saw that was too good to pass up, right? Like
Mate,
I
calling
think,
calling 117 million pounds a market opportunity. We could have bought Rafael Leao twice for that.
yeah, but I mean, in
I
the
don't
current
understand that.
situation, no, in the current market, right? Has been linked with Chelsea for 2 seasons now, right? For all intents and purposes, he was going to Arsenal. Arsenal was stuck in their valuation. Villa was stuck in theirs. Chelsea saw something. There must have been some concentration with Alonso as well. And they've seen that it makes sense to do. And I mean, I'm not defending it. I think the valuation is too much as well. But I'm just saying that now, when you look at the expected business, right, and what is expected to happen, um, they're clearly seeing opportunities to raise sufficient funds to cover
So
their
tell me
their
then,
out
like
outlay.
let's go deep in now, right? Because I'm pretty much done. I did note those few kind of things that I see them as problems, right? Because they've bought the club Strasbourg for that reason, or partially for that reason, right? But where are the areas that you're hearing that they're going to strengthen? What are the other market opportunities they're looking at?
So in terms of incomings that are expected, I think Lacroix is one that has been rumored for a really long time, and it seems that they're in talks with Palace. It's about valuation, and that should happen. There's a couple of cheeky things that have cropped up. I don't know. It's like after the Rogers signing, happened, it was like a domino effect. Like you knocked one over and things just started falling. So we're suddenly being linked with John Stones on a free. We're being linked with Romero coming from Spurs and Pedro Neto going the other way. This Chavaria has obviously been linked for a while. We look like we're getting an 18-year-old who's played with who's trained with Alonso at Leverkusen, made matchday squads, never really had a first team appearance. This guy Karim Alaibegovic. And there's also another defender at Como called Ramon, who we've been monitoring. There's links with midfielders as well. There's talks of Bruno Guimaraes. There's talks of Wharton. And I think those are contingent on Enzo Fernandez staying or going. But again, these links are not like there's suddenly like a flurry of them happening. So there's also like there's also like a few credible sources to trust. So you can't always put faith in a lot of them, but it's suddenly like kicked up a bunch. And then in terms of outgoings, there's a lot expected there as well. So I think there's some things that they're saying look like a Lacroix at 50, 60 million is someone that I think we know we need a defender of his sort of profile. So that makes sense. Um Palestra coming in at right wing back. Obviously we both discussed this whether Reese would feature more at right center back in a three or in midfield. Reducing his how much he's using his body. So there could be merit in that as well, which is why they've got a Palestra in. There's also a value on Gusto because he was linked. Apparently, Maresca was interested in him at City as well. So there's a lot of connected dots, and a lot of things that have to happen for certain things to happen. And I think, yeah, it's just like really ridiculous. Like I talked at the top of the show, right? Like if City are now interested in if Madrid are now interested in going for Rodri, what does that mean for City's midfield? Because they obviously need to strengthen as well. Um, do they suddenly say, okay, well, now we need to go out for a player and Enzo Fernandez is liked by Maresca? It's no secret. So do they suddenly come in for him? Do we do that? Because they have Rodri out, potentially leaving. They're not renewing Kovacic. They're not, they're open to Tijani Reinders also leaving. So suddenly they're looking really light in midfield as well. They've already had Bernardo leave. So, you know, lots of like things to monitor really. Um, I mean, that's the way I'm seeing it. And in terms of outgoing, suddenly, like, you have Garnacho, this loan deal to Villa. You have Jackson, who may be an outright purchase, from Villa. Um, Giu is apparently up. Could be a sale or a loan. We want to get rid of the Dacho Fofana. Disasi, Palace may be interested, but he's looking at other options. Bade Sheila is up. Tosin might actually be staying, funny enough. But then Ansel Mino and Mamadou Sarr might get loans. Jorgensen is a definite out. I mean, we've known this. It's just a matter of where he goes, I think. Um, Wesley Fofana, I don't know at this point what happens with him. But, there's all these names are all potential, like, outs. There's nobody in, like, except for, the João Pedro, Caicedo, Cole Palmer, um, you know, Sanchez, of course, doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. Levi Colwill. These are like your untouchables, quote unquote, right? They're not going anywhere for sure. The rest, it's all like, they could all, if the right offer comes in, we will not be averse to it. And I think that's what happened with Cucurella, right? We talked about how he also did not seem settled when he made those comments. But then it appears that, okay, look, Madrid have shown interest. There's something apparently with his son being diagnosed with autism, being able to receive the right care in Madrid. So he made the move for his family, is what we're led to believe. And yeah, we got 50, 55, was it, for him? But after the World Cup, if we'd held out, you could argue that we may have gotten closer to 65, maybe even 70. But, that's just the way it went down, right?
No, but you can't. That's one of the questions I was going to ask you was on Kukurea. When I said earlier I wanted to bring him up, no one. It was only a handful of teams during the World Cup that did business, or if you look at when Kukurea was actually sold, right? It was literally like, when I say handful, I mean I don't know anybody else who did such a major transaction as we did at that time. And I'm thinking the only reason we did it was to fund Palestra. It makes no sense. Why couldn't we just hold on until Spain is out of the World Cup, or lo and behold they go and win the thing, right? No one else was selling anyway. None of the big teams were doing huge transactions. It was like 60 mil. But these guys, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously it's very easy to say this in hindsight now that Spain have won it. But even if they got knocked out of the group stage, they would have lost, what, 10 days? So, and his valuation would have stayed the same. I just I don't understand what's going on. In the meantime, they're having to wait, I'm assuming, for World Cup to finish their business. So there's clearly a discrepancy here in how they're having to operate.
There's
So that
also
that kind
no.
of
There's also the consideration about financial year bookings, right? They may have needed to get the Cucurella transfer done by the end of June, or at a certain point in July, because June 30th is a typical cutoff date for the financial year, right? So they needed to get that over the line so they can book that sale in that year's, books. And that's also a factor, I think, for a lot of the clubs. You mentioned there were no big deals, but City's transfer for Anderson happened before the group stages, if I'm not wrong, and that was 116 million. So, before the
did
knockout
it
stages,
happen
sorry,
before?
before the knockout stages, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I think they
So
announced it.
two,
So yeah, two, one,
yeah, two,
but
more than one. Yeah.
no, I mean
So
that's the one I can
look,
think
at
of.
the
But
end of the day, these guys are passing up on money. But and they're just constraining their own mobility in the market. I mean,
yeah,
like, let's not even. We'll come to front of shirt at a certain point. Actually, we'll come to front of shirt now. What do you make of the new kits?
me, from what I've seen, they're all right. They're all right. I'm not loved anything. I'm not loved anything Nike's done for us, but these are all right. I think the away kits halfway decent. I would, if I had to consider one. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to open them again because I think the home kit that I saw Rogers' announcement in was not bad. But yeah, they're not like wow, man. I know you don't like any of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just think this is the weakest year. The previous years have actually been pretty cool.
You
But
think so?
the answer I was hoping you would say was they're looking pretty barren because there's no front of shirt
There's no.
sponsor again.
They are looking quite barren, especially they
Yeah.
will continue to look quite barren. I think until we can sort that out, and that's like something that isn't really happening anytime soon by
So
all
this would
accounts.
be season number 4 or season number 5? Season number
Going into
4,
season
right?
number 5, if I know,
Yeah.
fourth transfer
Yeah.
into yeah. But dude, I really don't know what's happening with that. That's one thing I haven't seen much activity on. To be honest, I think I saw something about, was it Riyadh there maybe, um, like a mock up or something, but no real news about that. And I don't have any idea what's happening with that. There's a lot of, like I said, a flurry of activity around transfers in the last, I don't know, since the weekend, since Rogers went through. But other than that, nothing really else, uh, nothing else happening. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't blame them for calming down after spending nearly 120 million pounds. Um, so look, like Lacroix to me seems like, again, I think he is a bit overvalued, whatever valuations we're hearing in the market. But you're right. He is the sort of profile we need in the squad, especially since he also went to the World Cup and he actually played more minutes than Gusto. Um, I'm not sure about the rest though. Just simply because it all seems very helter skelter. Like again, it seems like there's no coherent game plan. So Palestra, good move, I think, because uh, he can play on both sides as wing back, left wing back, or right wing back, or left back, right back. So that's good depth as well in case you don't get a Chavaria and Barco. We decide Barco is more of a central midfielder. So I think that was still. I'm not going to shit on that business the whole time. It was a good piece of business and maybe overpriced, but Serie A Defender of the Year, whatever. Big whoop. The other thing is, yeah, speed and size. He brings those to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's a good profile. Rogers, I can't disagree with you. Speed and size, he brings that as well. So we needed these two things. I'm still not seeing the leader being brought in though. So that's why I was a bit disappointed that we only offered like 8 million, 10 million euro, pounds, whatever it
Yeah.
was for Xhaka. Because he's clearly a six profile that we need. He's got the height, he's got the stature, he's got the passing range, he's got the leadership. It's everything in one package. Considering they dropped 117 million on Rogers, they couldn't have spared like 20 mil pound sterling for Xhaka for 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I don't know. Like, what do you make of these conspiracy theories that are going around the Chelsea verse that they're lowballing players that are not from Joe Shields' academy or however you want to refer to it?
I mean, I think there is a lot of. You can't deny that Joe Shields has got a lot of talent he's worked with through the club. I mean, you have Palmer and Rogers are just two examples there who worked with him at City, right? So there's definitely that. And then, of course, you also have to know that there are other people involved. So, for example, Garnacho was not Joe Shields; it was Paul Winstanley, right, who drove that. But
That
see, I
was
don't
just
know.
a
I don't
bad
know.
that was just a bad purchase.
That was
Like
just a
there's
bad
no other way to
purchase.
say it. That was just bad
Yeah,
business.
yeah. No, and I think I can't say that I can understand where these the sort of conspiracy theories come from. I don't say it's 100% true, but at the same time, I know that I think it's actually truer on the coaching side of things and the academy side of things, where a lot of his fellow Kinetic Academy um, mates, so to speak, are suddenly like cropped up all across the hierarchy, in coaching positions and all of that, right? And people who were the sort of incumbents who had been around Chelsea for a while were shifted on, or give or demoted or whatever. So that does seem to be something. Um, but yeah, I mean, let's not forget there's multiple people involved in the transfer side of things as well. And for all intents and purposes, Alonso has said he's getting more. I mean, as a manager, the expectation is he has more of a say in the transfers. And
But
he
actually, you know
said
what?
he's collaborating with them.
You actually bring us on to the next thing, right? The next
Yeah.
big topic. Do you think that's true?
I think to an extent, yes, because you certain moves seem to be only driven by him. Like Shawaria, for example, is a 28-year-old who's not really like. I was reading about it or listening to someone else talk about it, and they were just like, this guy's 28. He's never been capped for Spain. He's not an exceptional talent that oh, this is the next best thing to have, or he's like at his prime or whatever and he's exceptional. No, he's by all accounts the only one driving it is Alonso. you know so there is definitely, I think there is more of a say, because I don't think some of the moves, I mean, if even this Ali Begovic, if it's to be believed and it's happening, right, 18-year-old seems to be driven more by him as well, right? So
If
I
I'm not
think for
mistaken, he is a Bosnian left winger.
yes.
So
Yeah.
I've seen it play
Mm.
because of the deep scouting I did prior to this podcast. Very prepared as one of the founding members of this. But yeah, anyway, I actually don't rate him as highly as like a Diomande or whatever. Obviously, I think there's probably an age gap there. If we're
Mm.
talking behind the curve, I would actually put him, Alay Begovic. I would put Alay Begovic behind Gittins. I'm not putting Garnacho on any curve because I don't know how he decided to play football. Also, those who backed Garnacho last season, there should have been some
I
sort
I
of
ha-
punishment or
I
penalty.
I have that coming.
We can discuss that offline, and maybe in the next pod we'll have something prepared. But yeah, I watched him play. Look, he's 18, 19, whatever it is. I don't want to speak down on the guy. I just don't think he has that like super high ceiling. I think he could probably do well at like a low to mid table Prem team, right? And yet that means he'll do pretty well better in European teams. Um, so like, yeah, I don't think he's got very good technicals, like good ball control, touch, decent crossing, but I think he's just not as explosive to be in the Prem. So yeah, I wouldn't be so gung ho on that. Uh, I just wanted to give you my 2 cents. Not that it means anything, but anyway, yeah. So you were saying,
No, I think that's so we were just gonna segue now, I think, into like Alonso. So what do you make of
yeah.
what you've
Oh, I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad to. Excuse me. I'm glad to hear your perspective that okay, he's actually driving a lot of the other transfers, but we've made. So are we saying Palestra was Alonso signing?
yeah, we're saying that.
Okay, fine. So the ratio is 1-to-1. I guess Joe Shields has an agreement that says for every signing Alonso makes, I get one as well for like triple the valuation, double the valuation. No, I don't know what to make of it. You know me, I will err on the negative side and say actually, whilst Alonso has more of a say than Maresca, it's still not final say or discretion. It seems that the groupthink, which everyone should go and research how groupthink always ends up. It always ends up with you making worse decisions, right, or extreme decisions that lead to you paying 117 million pounds. I guess there's still more groupthink element into this than Alonso's say,
Mm.
which I think he kind of confirmed that much in
Yeah.
his first presser as well. So I'm not really sure. I'm doubtful as to whether anything's changed. The signing of Palestra and Rogers. Rogers is 23, so he's still 23 or under, right? They still meet the mold and the template of what these guys want to sign. It's just that they're taller and faster. That's it. That's it, right? So the proof is in the pudding, and right now I don't see any pudding.
Mm.
So I like if you're telling me Chavaria is a purely Alonso play, where is he? If Xhaka was a purely Alonso play, where is he? There's a reason why these guys are not already here, but we had the cash to stump up for Rogers. I'm gonna stop banging on about that because I think I've hammered that drum pretty hard. I really hope he pays us back close to the value because it's a lot of pressure to put on a person, right? When you're talking about them now, the most expensive Chelsea player on the books. And that's not like we spend ridiculous amounts of money. So that's not a small thing. Like globally, we are the top spenders in terms of per player, right? Or one of the top spenders. So I hope he comes good for his own sake because yeah, man, like he didn't ask for that fee, right? It's going to put a lot of pressure on him to succeed.
Well, very somber. But yeah, you you do make some like it's some points.
The roles have reversed, right? When we were talking about the World Cup, I was all smiles, but now it's just
Yeah.
these guys are literally just throwing money at their problems,
So
and
they are to an extent, but I think look just on the Shaka and Chavaria, what you said there about where are they, right? I think Shaka's supposed the bid we made. I think we definitely just thought. I think we didn't respect Sunderland, where he is their captain. They wanted a certain valuation. We stuck with what we thought, and we got nothing for it. And I guess they managed to convince him to stay. But I think the initial alignment was all Alonso, and that particular transfer is very similar to how it went with Magnon last window, where there was a deal to be had, but we were just being stubborn. With Chavaya, I think it's just a genuine case of like the he's coming from Rayo Vallecano, right?
I
If I'm not
believe
wrong.
so.
Yeah. They have suddenly gone from, okay, we're holding out for 25 million to we're holding out for 50 million if all reporting is to be
I
believed.
think it
Now, in
was
that case,
42 million, which is his release clause in his contract. So,
well, I mean,
I mean,
when it
if
was
it's in the
first reported,
contract, you know,
when it was first reported, there was no release clause. So I don't know. I don't know. That's the one that's a little bit, I don't know what's happening there. But coming to Alonso, man, like just generally, you know, alignment with sporting directors aside, because you're right, he did sort of confirm that he is aligned with them, and that means he has to work with them, right? It's not that as the manager he gets final say. So there is definitely an alignment. Overall, I wanted to know if you been reading or if you've seen anything, what you think, how you're gauging, the mood around the club and everything. I mean, I obviously have my view, but what's your perspective on that?
I mean, just general optimism. I mean, I don't actually understand, so there's disbelief as well as to how we picked up a manager of his caliber. And I think that sentiment is felt by all Chelsea fans. I think it's probably the most unanimous thing that we've had at the club for a while. And I think that works against Clear Lake. You know, if they make a knee jerk reaction to a poor start to the season, or they don't support him well enough, and he happens to speak out like Maresca does, then that's even more of a stick to beat them with. So it's a double-edged sword for them, but for us as fans, I think it's unanimous, and like we're just grateful that he chose the project. The project. Um, I still don't understand why he chose us. I think I'm seeing now that it's a tactical fit, but he's a brave man. Um, yeah. What are you hearing generally about the feeling around Stamford Bridge right now?
It's a very positive one. from everything I'm reading. So, of course, the sporting director alignment aside, like I said earlier, it seems like everyone's impressed. I think you talk about him as a manager. He did the Invincibles with Leverkusen, right? And then he had the bad stint at Madrid. But I don't even think it's that players are impressed by. A lot of these guys have grown up seeing him play. That's how young the squad is. They remember Alonso the player, and he's very hands-on on the pitch, pinging balls, for them to get on to for the wingers and stuff. So I think there's a lot of respect in that, in from that perspective, something Rosini never had. Who was Rosini at the end of the day? What was his career as a player and then a manager versus what
Well, I
has
mean,
Alonso done?
hold on 1 second, mate. You and I can't sit here and come after Liam Rossini,
No,
who did actually play in the Premier League, by the way. I'm not saying he was
no, no,
Alonso
no, no, no.
level,
He was not
but
Alonso level. I'm saying when you think about when you think about the quality, right? Alonso's an was an elite player, right? Liverpool, Bayern, Madrid, right? Um, so he's commanding. We talked about the intangibles. We talked about the respect. We've addressed this before. It's not the hate. It's not to diss on Rosina. It's to say that Alonso brings a lot more, and that is commanding respect, right? Um, he's very hands on. I think he's upped the fitness game. He's recognized that we were being outrun, so his fitness coaches really stepped things up a bit. It seems that there was a bleep test that they did in training, and Reggie Walsh came out on top. I don't know if you saw that, but that's apparently a really big deal. I was trying to understand what a bleep test is, and it's apparently very, very like taxing, right? So, there's a lot of like positive stuff happening on the training ground in terms of the intangibles. He was asked in his first interview in the presser about Liverpool, right? The natural question. And Liverpool also looking for a new manager, and obviously Slot was sacked after Alonso was appointed. But he was just like, no, it was all about the timing, right? And he says that he understands a club like Chelsea, the standards there, right? And there are some people who are basically saying that he is the best appointment under the Clear Lake tenure so far. So
I
it's
mean,
it's
in
big
terms of
shoes.
that, I don't remember people being too positive on Enzo Maresca when he was first coming into the club. And a lot of the Leicester fans were warning us that, okay, it's going to be quite drab, slow, tepid, a lot of control possession, not really blood and thunder football. Um, Alonso is positioned in the same, like he's planning to play a similar style of football, maybe with a bit more energy in the press, I would hope. Like he wants to control the game in the opponent's half, have as many touches in the opponent's defensive third. But what does that mean? That means he's going to try and dictate the ball, right? But nobody's positioning in the same way. So we all need to go in with our eyes wide open. Like Chelsea fans, I keep going back to this. We're used to that quick tempo, counter-attacking, direct football that, Mourinho just turned our fortunes around with. And there's been this tussle of like, oh, do we go back to that or do we suddenly go to control possession football, whatever it is? So let's see. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's see where we land up. Um, I don't want to bring the vibe down because like this guy's pedigree means we should be good, but it might mean that the games might be more boring than last season. So I don't know. And Prashant has some news he wants to share. Very, very, very good news
Yeah,
from his
dude. Breaking
perspective.
news. Breaking news. Garnacho's done to Villa. It's a loan. Yes, it is a loan. Before you start whining about that, but he's off. He's off the books. And there's also some other breaking news where it seems Lacroix is coming closer, and Disasi might be on his way with a loan to Palace as well. So we'll
So
see.
what you're saying is we'll have Lacroix and Garnacho and Disasi back next season. Great.
I mean, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah,
Um,
that is, bro.
but
I'm telling you, man. Okay, I when we briefly paused because you were breaking the news to me, I was going to say this to you. I'm saying it to you live, mate. How many games did Buonanotte play?
yeah, I know. I said I
Exactly.
said that it could be a
Exactly.
very See, the other thing is, right, the obligation
They are
can't
going to
be,
realize
it
how
can't be a
bad
gimme.
Garnacho is. There's no
Yes.
position on the pitch for this guy. There's no
Well,
position.
I don't know why it didn't happen with Roma, by the way. That was a really strange one. Did you see that, by the way?
I
Roma,
did, and he also said, "Oh, I prefer to go to Roma." But
yeah.
I have a feeling it's all to do with this valuation nonsense that you're talking about. These financial tricks.
It could be that. It could be an Emery effect as well. But the Roma thing was just really odd from another perspective where they were being linked with Garnacho. They were being linked with I think
Chalobah, right?
Strasbourg. No. Strasbourg for Moreira, if I'm not wrong. And then they dropped both of those to go for Somerville. And then Somerville ended up going to fucking Al Hilal for 80
Yeah.
million. So that was just an interesting, little side story. There's lots of side quests happening during the
I mean,
transfer window, but
I'm sure Chelsea and Strasbourg have other wingers we can offer AS Roma. I mean, like Gittins, they can take him. I have no problems with that. Why don't we can give them Neto. Give them Neto.
Neto, maybe Spurs. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how it's going. There's too many rumors to keep track of, like I said. So it's a slightly positive note to, wrap this one on. Garnacho's loan deal is
So
confirmed.
slightly positive depending on who you are as a person. But what is objectively positive is this other news you wanted to break.
Yeah, so we're gonna be in Hong Kong for the preseason, so I'm really looking forward to that. Live pods, live recording happening. We're gonna have some BTS content as well, and hopefully, we can do a deeper dive into Alonso's actual tactics at Chelsea based on what we see, not what we think is gonna happen, and we'll, obviously get a chance to see some of the players live in action. So that's super exciting. How are you feeling about that?
I am actually excited, like more excited than I was about the World Cup. Um, because honestly, I don't remember the last time Chelsea were in Hong Kong. They've come to this area of the world like once every 5 years. But yeah, I'm super pumped to see them. Like Hong Kong recently opened, I say recently, like 2 years ago, they opened up a new stadium as well. It's fantastic. So yeah, hopefully we'll get you guys, or get us as well, some content from in and around the stadium. And we, I mean, there is at least one preseason game before the one in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
There might even be two. I have to
Yeah.
check the calendar. So we'll definitely we'll definitely know prior to the game in Hong Kong already what it's looking like. But the game in Hong Kong will be in person and we can kind of confirm it and also take it all in. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. And if you haven't already, make sure you're following us on socials and Twitter for updates from there on the ground. And if you haven't heard our squad reviews and everything from the last season, definitely go check that out. Leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, YouTube, follow. Yeah, share this with other Chelsea fans. And if you're going to be in Hong Kong, definitely drop us a note and we'll try to arrange maybe a meetup or something if there's enough people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you get what I meant by this, by the way?
The X, yes, on X.
Yeah.
At We Burn Boot
Yeah.
Pod. Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
say Twitter, you say X. Yeah, I'm old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on that note, I think pretty longer than planned, but as always, a fun one. And any parting words?
Oh, we'll just see everybody in Hong Kong. Blue flag is definitely flying a little higher than where it was at the end of last season. So yeah, hopefully it's up in the top 4 positions by the end of this coming season.
Oh, we have an optimistic prediction.
I said
Gotta
hopefully.
lock that in.
I didn't say it was going to happen.
All right. On that note, peace.
Peace.